Hello viewfinders, greetings from India. Thanks for the kind opportunity to present a paper in this prestigious virtual VuFind Summit 2020. And our deliberation deals with VuFind and Koha integration, covering all three generations of connectivity approaches. And the backdrop is that in India we want to build a virtual union catalog of Indian universities by using Koha ILS at the back end and VuFind in the front end as discovery interface. So let us start. As you can see, we are trying to build a union catalog. So the views related to union catalog is important. It's an age-old concept related with the library domain. So the classical view is that it's a list of the combined holdings of several libraries. The modern view says it's a single point access interface for the holdings of several libraries. But the futuristic view says that it's a single point access interface, of course, with DI, discovery interface, along with OPAC functionalities. So this is the futuristic view related to union catalog. If we look inside the higher education system of India, it is one of the biggest higher educational system in the world. We have around 1,000 universities, 40,000 colleges, 10,000 plus standalone institutions, and many universities are located in rural areas, almost 1/3. But when you come to the library automation of these universities and other academic libraries, then it is like other part of the world, it is also heterogeneous in nature, and we have union catalogs but only a few, and these few are far from the modern views of union catalog as we discussed. From this slide you can have an idea about the Indian situation of related to use of ILSs. So there are three categories of ILSs presently we use: ILSs of foreign origin, both commercial product like Alice for Window, Virtual ILS, and open source product like Evergreen and Koha. Then the second category is the ILSs developed on the top of ILS of foreign origin, and third category is ILS of pure Indian origin. So it's a heterogeneous mixture of ILSs as far as Indian universities are concerned, but for the last 4 and 5 years one particular trend is coming. So most of the Indian universities are using either Koha version 16.x to 20.x or Sol 2.x. These two are the mostly used ILSs in Indian higher educational institutes. Now on this particular backdrop, the question is that is it possible to develop a framework for union catalog of academic libraries in India by using Koha at the back end and VuFind in the front end? How and to what extent is it feasible to fuse OPAC functionalities like real-time item availability status, hold preference settings, different kind of ILS based authentication in such a union catalog framework? So this particular deliberation is searching answer to these two questions. Now before making a quantum jump inside the result, let us go for some kind of fact finding related to national level and global scale union catalogs. So most of the these union catalog supports only finding functions and neglecting the OPAC functionalities like real-time item availability status, hold preference, ILS based authentication, extended search features like full text search, faceted navigation, and most important nowadays FRBRI's display or grouping of resources. Now let us start from India. So the largest union catalog of India has been developed by InflipNet. It is available from indcat.inflipnet.ac.in. Here you can see this is one example I have given. Effective deduplication has been done. ILS's request form can be generated. Many search refinements are there, but it fails to produce any real-time item level status here. And this is the ILL request form, but as a whole no real-time item level status, no OPAC functionalities, no faceted navigation, only search refinements are there, no FRBRI's display, all edition of a work are not grouped in one place, and no ILS based authentication. So here you can see another example. This is the CSIR, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, the largest chain of national laboratories in India. All of these 42 labs under CSIR use Koha as ILSs. By utilizing Koha OAIP image compatibility, they developed a virtual union catalog where only title and author is visible along with the holding library, but no other information, and in no sense it matches with any kind of definitions of union catalog. So I am not commenting further on it. Now if we make a query into the fact that what is happening in the other countries and at the international level, let us start with UK. So COPAC recently changed its name to Library Hub Discover. This is the National Union Catalogue of UK. Here you can see effective deduplication has been done against a particular book, and it says clearly that in which libraries these are available. But if I click here, suppose in British Library, it will tell me the details of that particular book, including location of the copy, but no real-time item level status. So it says clearly here live circulation data is not available. Now if we make an inquiry about around another greatest digital library of our time, Trove from Australia. So here you can see if I search by a particular book, it can go for effective deduplication. So this particular work is available under 6 libraries, and excellent or marvelous FRBRization of all 4 editions are grouped together, but no real-time item level status. If I want to know what is the status, I need to go to the respective OPAC like National Library of Australia. Now if we come to the global leader, that is WorldCat. So WorldCat initiated lot many FRBRization experiment like OCLC fiction finder, but they never implemented, not yet implemented FRBRization in WorldCat. You see the same book what I searched in Trove, I also searched in WorldCat. So all expression and manifestations are displayed separately. And if I want to know the real-time item level status of this particular document, so it says the effective deduplication has been done. So it says that there are this many 5 libraries, participating libraries are there where this particular book is available, but no real-time item level status, rather they are referring to the respective OPACs. So this is the situation with the global leader. So facts in a nutshell, we can say that no union catalog is using ILS to design union catalog. Union catalogs are using discovery interface as a single point search entity according to the modern view of union catalog. Union catalogs are mostly gathering metadata through harvesting, because most of the backend ILSs now are OAIP image compatible. Most of these services implemented deduplication, gathering all items of the same manifestation in one place. A few of these services like Trove have successfully implemented FRBRized display, that is gathering of all manifestation, all expression under a particular work. But almost all of these union cataloging services fail to implement minimum OPAC functionalities, as I said, like real-time item availability, holds preference setting, ILS based authentication, and so on. So why this is happening? Because simply ILSs don't talk to discovery interface there. But holds on, there are some exceptions. So the first exception is the Ohio Link Classic. So it has got a 24 participating libraries under Ohio Link Union Catalog. This is their older version. So here I search by the same book what I searched in WorldCat and Trove. So here you can see no FRBRization, no deduplication. But if I click any of this particular book here, it can generate real-time item level status inside discovery interface. So what ILS they are using? They are using Opal ILS, and what connectivity protocol they are using? They are using ILS-DI for the old catalog. But recently the system has changed. Now they are using the modern version of it. So here I search the same document. Now you see the effective deduplication is there. it identified two libraries on this particular item. If I click this particular item, it can tell me that these two documents are available in these two libraries and both are available. So real-time item level status it can generate. What they are using, they are depending on the RESTful API. They are using Sierra ILS at the back end and ENCODE discovery interface in the front end. So real-time item level status it can generate, but no other OPAC functionalities, no ILS based logging, etc. So if we come to the finna.fi, here you can see the searching of a book shows that effective deduplication has been done. Partial FRBRI's display is also available, and real-time item level status can be generated brilliantly in this discovery interface. So here you can see right from here it can tell me that these two libraries are actually, these two items are not available from these two libraries. I can select any other library here. So from the drop down list, suppose I am selecting the last one, and it can tell me that this particular document or this particular item available from that library. And I can also log on to place a hold and to perform many other basic OPAC related functions. So real-time item level status alongside ILS based authentication is possible here. Here you can see if I click the logon, I can use from the drop down list my library. I can utilize, I can give my login and password, I can enter, I can place a hold, and I can perform many other basic OPAC related functions. So basic OPAC functionalities are assured here, and yes, it's VuFind, all you VuFinders know very well. So as a whole, we can take a decision, or we can make a conclusion that most of the Union catalog supports only two functions of a catalog, to find and to select, but not neglecting the third function, that is to locate. And VuFind may take care of all these OPAC functionalities as discovery interface of Union catalog if configured in a multi-backend driver environment to handle multiple backend ILSs. And DI and ILS connectivity approaches in VuFind have improved greatly in recent times. So what are these improvements? So as I said that these three generations of connectivity between the VuFind and the ILS that is there. So generation 1 is based on the database call approach. Particularly I am talking about in the context of Koha-VuFind connectivity. So generation 1 is based on the database call approach, which requires database level authentication, and right from the beginning it is there. So generation 2 is based on the ILS-DI protocol to connect Koha and VuFind, but still we need database level authentication. And it also provides basic OPAC functionalities within the DS, like hold placement, profile update, etc. The first Koha ILS driver came inside VuFind in release 3.1 in 2016. And the generation 3 is the REST based connectivity, where you do not need database level authentication, but that kind of authentication can be done through OAuth2. It's a more secure protocol. And it also ensures many enhanced OPAC functionalities within the DI, within the discovery interface, like holds placement, holds cancellation, profile update, article request, etc. So fast REST based connectivity came in VuFind through Voyager RESTful in 2014, then Sierra REST in 2017, and finally the latest one is the Koha REST, released in July 2020. So very recent. So let us go for our test plan. So test plan is that we are going for going to develop the Union catalog based on Koha and VuFind integration. So ILS we are using Koha 20.05.04. Then DI we are using VuFind 7.0.1, the latest level release. Environment is multi-backend driver. Data gathering protocol is OIPMH. All backend ILSs are OIPMH, and we gather data through harvesting. Total 6 university libraries holding with 1000 data in marks XML format from each library. And now the question is that what connectivity approaches will be suitable for DI to ILS linking. Methodology we follow to prepare a single central index for all 6 libraries and test all 3 connectivity approaches in a multi-backend driver environment. Now, before entering into the details of this test plan and the result, so let us take a look at what is ILS and DI. So in 2017 onwards, library community felt a need for a protocol to integrate discovery interface and ILS systems. You can see the statement given by Peter Granthalaya, DLF, Digital Library Federation Executive Director. So Berkeley Accord came in 2018. So you can see the list of the big names, both from the commercial domain and from the open source domain. So they came together to form a protocol to accord that all ILS should support harvesting, availability status, and linking with DI. So the result was the development of ILS-DI Standard. First version came in June 2008, and the latest one available December 2008, version 1.1. That is the latest and presently available. So what ILS-DI is saying, ILS-DI is gathered all to actually they advocated 25 functions for data aggregation, real-time search, patron functionalities, and OPAC embedding. So these 4 group of activities includes 25 functions. Then with the emergence of REST-based API, Koha community started exploring also, apart from ILS-DI, different kind of REST endpoints right from the version 17.11. And presently there are 56 plus endpoints as on September 25th. It is in version 1, still under development, but more and more REST points will emerge in future, and this ensures more and more OPAC functionalities at the discovery interface end. So they created one test bed also, where many new REST-based API related to Koha can be tested, can be checked, and can be discussed. But the question is that what are the differences between OAIP image, ILS-DI, and REST? So let us take a look. So suppose I am asking a OAI response from Koha. So in metadata format OAI DC. So here you can see this unqualified DC. There is no concept of item. Only the manifestation level data is coming. But if we use the metadata format as mark XML, it is much more comprehensive in compared with OAIDC. Here you can have item related data in 9xx tag of mark, but not real time availability of that particular item in a library. So here we can utilize ILS-DI for some additional functionalities. What is this? So Koha integrated all these 25 functions into 4 groups. In some of the functions covered by OAIPME, some of the functions they have developed. So what is the relation of this particular functions with the accessing data from the backend Koha ILS? Here you can see in this particular example, if I make a query to Koha ILS-DI PL that get availability item ID is equal to 1, and for all biblio ID is equal to 1 and item ID is equal to 2. That is for 2 items under the BYD is equal to 1. Here you can see here in this red circled line that item ID is 1, BYD is 1 here. Then under that BYD item ID is 1. Then this can tell you that whether it is available or not, and it can tell you from which library it is available. Similarly, here you can see BYD is still 1, but item ID is 2. Availability status is there and holding library is there. So additionally we can produce item level status by using ILS-DI call. Similarly, we can also get different kind of patron information by utilizing this. Here you can see through this call I can generate different patron related information like username, their date of expiry, and many other things. So you can see this red block here. But what REST API can do additionally, because in comparison with ILS-DI, so more and more endpoints are now possible. It can return data in JSON format. It can be more dynamic. More conditions can be added. For example, in this particular API REST API call, I searched all patrons with the city, that is in the address field, is equal to a given city, Kalyani. So it can generate that these 4 users are available with the city is equal to Kalyani, and in any one of these I can click and it can generate all the data in JSON format. So that really opened up many more avenues for DI to ILS connectivity, real time information availability from the ILS end. Now the methodology we followed here can be divided into 3 groups: ILS layer, middle layer and the discovery layer. Here in the ILS layer you can see that 3 tasks is there. We need to make Koha backend, Koha OIP image compatible, ISDLI compatible and REST compatible. REST compatibility requires some additional work. In the middle layer for ILS-DI and Koha database call, we need no additional tasks, but for Koha REST plugin, we need to install Koha plugin REST-DI developed by Array, Mozilla and others. We are using here version 0.8.6. And in the discovery layer, the most challenging task is to preserve BYD, unique BYD from each participating library. So indexing requires bit trinkering, and we need to develop a multi-backend driver to cover or to include all Koha database call, Koha ILS-DI call and Koha REST call. So let us discuss these 3 issues separately. So issue 1 or issue 0 rather, creation of REST API user with prescribed minimum permission. So here you can see after your REST API compatibility is achieved in Koha, then you can create a user, you can give different kind of minimum permission. These are the permission set prescribed, and after that is over, you can go to the task 2. There you can generate client ID and client secret, and you can check by entering the user login and password that what kind of functions are available inside Koha. So it is providing you the minimum level authentication, circulation and pattern management. Now issue 1, that is the indexing. So suppose there are 5 instances, 6 instances of Koha here. Each of these instances will be having biblio number with ID 2. So when you index the first one, then you index the next one and index the third one. So every time this biblio ID will be replaced from instance 1 by instance 2, then from instance 1 by instance 3 and so on. So at the end of indexing you will be having only biblio ID from the last instance, that is Koha instance 6. So to avoid that kind of situation, what we did, we developed marked local Koha ILS properties for each participating libraries with prefix say Koha ILS 1 that indicates coming from the library 1. Then import Koha ILS 1.properties to indicate that this particular marked local properties will be utilized, and during the indexing process we utilize -p switch to indicate the input property input.properties, which is on the turn in contacting marked local properties and indexing accordingly. So in this way you can preserve unique BYD for each participating library. So here you can see the result. So this biblio 2, now it is become biblio Koha ILS 1.2 from the library 1 and Koha ILS 2.2 from the library 2, and here it can generate real-time item level status from library 1 and from library 2. So that is quite possible, although method is bit tricky. Now the issue 2, the multi-backend driver. So what we are doing actually with this multi-backend driver? So Koha on the one hand and VuFind on the other hand. So there are 6 instances of Koha. There are all drivers are there, and we created 3 drivers for 3 generations of connectivity: Koha, Koha ILS-DI, Koha REST driver, and so on. Then we added a multi-backend driver. There are 3 sets of multi-backend drivers. Set 1 deals with the Koha, set 2 deals with Koha ILS, and set 3 deals with Koha REST. And you can see the result of this methodology. So this is related to Koha ILS-DI. So DI is interacting multi-backend driver as a proxy driver. Multi-backend driver, by seeing the specific prefix of the record, it can contact the respective driver and it can contact the respective instance of Koha. So this is the first in case of ILS-DI. This is the fast instance of the driver. So here you can see we are utilizing different username, different database and different URL. And here point to be noted that we need to give MySQL level or database level username, password and database. So this is for Koha ILS2 and so on. So here when your multi-backend driver is getting the prefix, it is connecting the respective Koha ILS driver and connecting it, and during the login also that is also done. So same thing is happening with Koha ILS2 and onwards. Now this is the Koha REST, the same technology, but here you can see that we don't have to share the database username and password. So here we are giving only the client ID and client secret as generated in Koha. Then this is the Koha ILS1, this is the Koha ILS2, and here we are utilizing Koha REST, which connecting respective drivers. So the result is that at the end of the day we can display lot many universities or participating universities, and user can select their university, can enter their login and password, and can enter inside the DI or discovery interface. So after entering in the discovery interface, this is the result. The first one is the Koha REST based login. Here you can see two are almost similar. Second one is the Koha ILS-DI based login, but here additional functionality is the storage and retrieval request. But it won't be wise to think that there is the differences lies only in one particular OPAC functionality. The difference lies in the brilliance of the connectivity from the VuFind end to Koha end. So lot many more OPAC functionalities will be added here in future. So here you can see that after generation of the prototype with all 6000 data, we can now search, and in result it can tell me that it is this particular book. I search by web indexing, available from library 1, second one available from library 3, and the third one available from the library 2. In real time it can generate item availability status also. So result is that security and confidence buildings in partner, the first requirement. In case of Koha database call and Koha ILS-DI based approach, partners need to share Koha database admin credentials, a bit risky for partnership based initiative like Union Catalog. But in case of Koha REST, we do not have to share the database level password and login. We only share our client ID and client secret, and that particular user is having minimum privileges, so it's not a security threat. It's a revolutionary improvement in security over the generation 1 and generation 2 approaches, and can build necessary confidence amongst partners. So if we come to the enhanced OPAC functionalities, most of these drivers support minimum OPAC functionalities in multi-backend driver in the multi-backend environment. So Koha database call support all basic authentication, but cannot place or cancel holds in multi-backend driver mode, cannot change modify user profile. So Koha ILS-DI, apart from supporting all the basic functionalities, it can also support hold placement, hold recall, then profile update including password change option, but holds cancellation is not allowed, and article request facility is not available. Koha REST supports all functions of Koha and Koha ILS-DI apart from supporting holds cancellation, extensive profile data, and storage and retrieval request, but it's a bit slower in transferring data sets from ILS in comparison with generation 1 and generation 2 driver. Password change option is not there like Koha ILS-DI. So here you can see that Koha REST driver, what it can show after login. So here it effectively place the title level hold. It can support hold placement. It can support article storage request. It identified library but failed to identify the self, and in case of copy number, it failed to give the copy number. Now if the same book with the login and password we check in Koha ILS-DI driver, you see here the differences. Still we can place a hold item level and the title level, but copy number C1 and C it is there, copy number it can identify, but here you can see it missed the library. It can identify the stack location but or the item location in the library, but miss the library itself. But if we come for the same book on the top of Koha driver itself, here you can see it does not provide minimum OPAC level facilities like in a multi-backend driver environment like hold placement, etc. but it can identify the copies, it can identify the library, and it can identify the location. Another, Koha REST is the champion as far as OPAC functionalities and different kind of securities are concerned. But here you can see one point of caution is there. A search involving documents from all 6 libraries takes around 30 seconds to upload real-time item level status for set 1, that is 20 retrieved records in the first set, for a total of 12 sets, 236 retrieved records. But availability status in the detail page is instantaneous. So in compare with Koha driver and Koha ILS driver, Koha REST driver is taking bit more time in displaying the item level status in the main search interface. So conclusion, it's there. It's too early to conclude because Koha REST is only 3 months old. But the conceptual framework that supports REST-based authentication between VuFind and Koha is simply brilliant. Koha REST is more secure in comparison with Koha and Koha ILS-DI driver. Koha REST does not require additional configuration in MySQL and MariaDB, and Koha instances are in different machine. That is the case in case of most of the practical scenario, that will be the case. But in case of Koha ILS-DI and Koha drivers need this additional work related to MySQL and MariaDB configuration. Koha REST is most importantly independent of structural changes in Koha side, whereas Koha ILS-DI and Koha drivers need adjustment with the changes in Koha side. I can give you one example, the problem we faced in VuFind 4.1, where Koha ILS-DI driver required major changes when Koha community decided to remove mark XML out of the biblio items table in Koha 17.04. The PR I have given here. Now REST endpoints in Koha side will be growing with the time, unlike the fixed 25 parameters in ILS-DI, and more OPAC functionalities will be added in Koha REST driver in future. You have already noticed the article request option in Koha REST, and at this point of time Koha REST driver is bit slower in comparison with Koha ILS-DI and Koha driver, but I am sure that it will be solved in the forthcoming version of VuFind 7.2. But deduplication and FRBRI's display are not there presently, so it should be the next target for such a framework. So thank you very much, stay safe, and a special thanks to Damien Kaj, and Array Mozilla. Thank you very much.
If I may add just a couple of notes regarding the Koha REST driver. The aim the whole time has been to create the best driver ever. So that's the main idea. Yeah, and it's still work in progress, but someday it will be the most comprehensive driver with the full support for all the functionality that a user would have in the Koha OPAC as well. About Koha and the OAI PMH export or the format, it's actually possible to include the item data also in the OAI PMH export or the mark XML response, and that includes sort of basic availability information also. We use it to provide facets for locations and some available in library checkbox facets in VuFind. The best thing about implementing the REST APIs with Koha is that, as you said, you don't need to touch Koha itself. Koha supports REST plugins, so you can add a functionality to the basic Koha installation without messing with the internals. Password change should be there. It's not working, so I need to check that one. It should be working, and it's not available, so there is something wrong. It's a bug. With Koha, make sure you are using black, because otherwise it will be slow. All the requests to Koha will take several seconds, and that will slow down the system. With black, it's relatively fast. Of course, not as fast as direct database access or something like that. But what you're experiencing is slower than I would expect. that's, I think, most of what came up. Otherwise, really nice presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Yuri, for those comments, and thank you very much, Palasari Mukhopadhyay, for your presentation. So, do we have any further questions?
I'm not seeing any questions come through. If you do have questions, the speaker is with us. So feel free to send any questions or ask them on Slack. We will make sure that they're answered before the end of the conference today.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, so if we...
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So my two virtual gurus are there, Damian and Array. Actually, I have learned everything related to multi-backend driver-based configuration, definitely with their kind help and guidance. But as Galaxy of Viewfinder is there, I would like to clear some of my own confusion. Let the other questions come. I will try my best to answer. But meanwhile, some of my own confusions I would like to clear with Damian and Array. So in case of a union catalog, we are really thinking seriously to replace the present IndCat with this kind of configuration. So the FRBRI's grouping of manifestation instances are very much important. Otherwise, lot many same books will be coming from lot many different libraries together, and we don't know simply what to do with that kind of mess up. So FRBRI's display and other things, what is the future, thinking in the VuFind community? Can you throw some light? Meanwhile, let the question come.
So I don't know if you've been following, I believe it's pull request 1581, which is designed to allow you to create work keys that group things together so that you can link to alternate versions of documents. But this is all work from Era, which I'm sure he could discuss perhaps even more articulately than I could, but I've been spending a lot of time working with him and reviewing that. And the goal is to get that functionality into VuFind 7.1, which I think is a very big and significant step forward for Ferberization support. Right now, we're working through some of the details of how to generate work keys in the most reliable way, dealing with potentially multiple languages and balancing normalization versus accurate representation of data and so forth. VuFind also has a deduplication listener, which I think can complement this functionality, but I know much less about that. So maybe I'll see if Era has more to add.
Unfortunately, my internet connection dropped for a moment right before Damien started talking. So I only caught a little part of what you were discussing before. But I can say that the deduplication and the version support, or the FRBR stuff that I'm working on, they are indeed complementary. The deduplication is meant to find exact same copies of a work or an instance, or what was the expression again, and combine those into one. While the version support, or the Ferberization, which I don't use the term because it's horrible. But anyway, so record versions support is meant to find the different versions of the same work, or different expressions for the same work. So they may be maybe in different format, or they could be different editions or something like that, or even in some cases even in different languages. So they are not really duplicates, but they are nonetheless belong together and could be interesting. And finding one that's not available might let you to see some other versions that are available, and so on. So I'm going to show you one case later on today.
And another question to Array, can we utilize Plaque and OAuth together in a production environment?
Plaque is, I think it's almost mandatory to have in production, because otherwise the system is just too slow. There are some cases where you need to be aware of that. I think it's still, in certain cases, it's necessary to restart Plaque for some changes to take effect into some system configurations. I'm not really the expert on that subject, so I can't tell you exact details on that. But from what I've heard and from what I've experienced, it's a difference of a magnitude or more, or several magnitudes in the response times when you use Plaque or not. And for instance, when I'm debugging Koha, I don't use Plaque, so that I can easily deploy new code and don't need to restart everything. And it's quite possible that a single API call takes 2 seconds to 3 seconds to complete, while with Plaque it's almost instantaneous. So it's a huge difference. I did some work with Koha to improve the API performance or the access performance. It depends also on some of the dependencies, like the one of the API modules. I can't recall off the top of my head, but anyway, some work has been done to improve the performance also without Plaque, but still it's way too slow for production use.
We have a question about the Koha driver. What is the best option to choose to integrate Koha with VuFind between the options of the REST API, MARC indexing, or OAI? This might be a larger question, but let's see.
These three are slightly different from each other. Koha IPMH we are using for harvesting from the Koha end to VuFind end. Then this ILS-DI or Koha database call driver or Koha REST is basically interacting with the backend ILS in real time to generate item level status and many OPAC functionalities inside the discovery interface. But that is actually the experimentation, the result I have presented today. That the Koha REST is basically it seems at this point of time is much more promising in compare with ILS-DI, because Koha simple driver cannot work in multi-backend driver. That is our experience. So the real competition comes between the Koha ILS-DI and Koha REST. But incidentally, both developed by the same developer, Array Mozilla. So finally, his two products are competing with each other. But my personal view is that that Koha REST will be the champion in future, because in coming days more and more functionalities will be added, because it is not restricted within the 25 functions only as proposed by ILS-DI. Definitely, ILS-DI played a historical role to develop this kind of functions, get availability, get patron information, etc. It is basically the forerunner, the pre-runner. It provides the historical base, but I personally think that Koha REST will be much more promising in compare with the other two.
I would like to add that when you think about REST APIs and OAI, or indexing or loading just MARC records, using OAI PMH is comparable to loading MARC records to your VuFind instance. So you index them locally for searching, while the REST API is used for real-time stuff that you use to interact with the ILS system, Koha or whatever it may be. So whenever you want to do something that affects the Koha side, or you want to get some information from Koha that's up to date, you use the API, REST API, or another means. I personally advocate OAI PMH over mark files or just transferring files or in whatever means, because that's another API that allows you to do proper error handling, and you don't need to think about how you create exports and move the files and import the files in with the perfect timing or such, and so on. But anyway, OAI PMH is a protocol that's meant for harvesting. It's really simple, and it does the work that's needed. And while it looks deceptively simple, it does some things that are not available via other means. So if you think about search APIs, you don't generally get information on deleted records, for instance, and that's important for updating your index. So that's one thing that the OAI PMH provider can do. It's the same with mark exports. So if you just download your mark records as a file and import it to VuFind, there will be the files won't contain information about deleted records. So you will need to rebuild the index regularly or handle the deletions otherwise, or in another way, with a list of deleted records, IDs or some other means. So this all is meant for streamlining the operations and make them automatic as much as possible. Of course, sometimes they add complexity also, but that's we try to avoid it as much as possible. But well, setting up things is typically more complicated when you use these APIs, and you need to do configuration on both sides. But in the end, I think the outcome is very good.
Thank you very much for the discussion. I think we are running out of time now and have to go on now to the next session that actually got a little bit improvised. So, but before we introduce ourselves, I would like to thank again Patasarati Mukhopadhyay for the talk, and also Ira for his comments and further information. So thank you very much. All right, so yes, the next slot is somehow improvised, and we thought, well, Demian, Ira, and me, we thought it would be a good idea to have a little showcase of some VuFind catalogs that we are operating, and to give an impulse maybe for the lightning talk session on Thursday, that we want to show today what we are actually working on and which catalogs we are building, and to show one or the other little feature that we have implemented, and to show how mighty VuFind can be and how easily you can implement some nice features. And we would like to use this opportunity as an impulse for you to maybe then join this idea on the lightning talks on Thursday, and maybe show some implementations on your side. This is especially directed to all the participants in the audience. If you want to join us showcasing some of your VuFind catalogs, feel free to enter your topic to the Google document. I think we have this set up in the wiki, the link, and we can probably also post it again in the chat, so that you can sign up for the lightning talks. Oh, thank you, Chris. Perfect.